Today I'm going to show you how you can make eyes for any art project that you are working on. We're making turkeys right now, but you can use these strategies for any animal art that you are making. So the first thing you will need is a pencil and some white paper, and then you just need to decide how big would you like your eyes to be. The smallest eyes that we can make are by tracing a black marker, and the biggest eyes we could make are from the top rim of a styrofoam cup. So the first thing you want to do is decide what you're tracing to make your eyes. So I'm going to use this cup. Then depending on how big you make it, you can actually fold your paper so that you can get two eyes at the same time. So I folded my paper and I'm going to put the bottom of the cup down on the paper and then trace with my pencil. When you trace, the most important thing is to keep your object that you're tracing still so that you can get all the way around it with your pencil. Then if you cut out with it folded, you will get two. Before I just start cutting, I want to go over some tips for using your scissors, especially when you're cutting something round. One tip I have for you is to make very tiny cuts. Cut, 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 cut. I'm making very tiny cuts and then I'm rotating my scissors as I cut. Very tiny cuts. As tiny as I can possibly make them. And then I rotate as I go around. Okay. And you can see here that I have some pencil that is still on my eye. So that would be face down when I glue it onto my project so that you can't see that pencil. So if you ever end up with pencil on something that you traced and cut out, put the glue on the side where you can see the pencil and then stick it down. Okay, so here are some eyes. I would like to use black paper to make the little dots inside my eyes, otherwise known as pupils, but you could use a marker or even a crayon to draw them in there. So I'm actually going to trace the tip of my marker, and because of how big it is, I can actually fold this black paper in half again. And then trace. So hold down with the hand you don't write with. Get your pencil in your writing hand and trace around. Okay, so as you can see, I kind of went off there a little with my pencil, but it's outside of my circle, so not a big deal. But if you do accidentally move the object you're tracing while you're tracing and you write inside of the circle, that's not a big deal because you can just make that face down when you glue it. Okay, so again, I'm using tiny, tiny cuts. I want to show you what happens if you use big cuts when you're doing circles, just so that you can really see why it's better to use small cuts. Okay, do you see how this is not round? That happens when you use bigger cuts with your scissors. So that's why it's so important to use the smallest cut you can possibly make as you go around. And just rotate your hand. And I move the paper and keep my scissors my scissor hands still. Okay, so that looks a little better. Can try and fix this one. So if you feel like you made a mistake with your cutting, you don't need to start all over. You can just make a slightly smaller eye and make those really tiny cuts. You can fix it. As you can see, making eyes is kind of a messy project. So please make sure that you clean as you go so we don't have a whole bunch of mess at the end to clean up. So the next step would be to glue my pupils onto the whites of my eye. I'm going to put it on top of the glue stick and just kind of move the glue stick around while I hold the paper still to get a good amount of glue onto it. And you stick it down. So when you stick it down, think about where you want that pupil to be. Where do you want your turkey looking? Do you want it looking straight ahead so that it almost feels like the turkey is looking at you? Or do you want the turkey to be looking off to the side, left or right, or up or down? Okay, there's lots of different ways that you can make your eyes. Put the lid back on your glue.